probably won't be much longer.
If I get on a subway in New York or a big city, I'd like to know there's no guns on that subway. If I go to a movie theater in a big city, I'd like to know there's no gun. I'd like to know there's no gun. I'd like to have a metal detector.
That'd be nice, but
I'd like to have a metal detector in movie theaters. I'd like to know there's less guns in this city. I wouldn't mind if a cop stopped people in the street if they look like they had a gun.
Sounds like you don't want to be free.
Tomorrow night, a certified TSA official will be at the Santa Fe High School prom to oversee student searches.
2 Capitol High School students, sisters, filed a lawsuit saying they were groped by a security agent at Capitol High School's prom last month. We talked to one of the sisters suing the district earlier this week.
She had grabbed my breast and then grabbed the inner part of my bra and shook it. And then she picked up the front of my dress to like mid-thigh, and she was patting down my bare leg.
Let's go ahead and play Obama again with his domestic security force.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded.
A TSA agent was arrested on January 3rd here at Terminal 1 at LAX. He'd just gotten off duty and was behaving erratically, saying, "I am God, I'm in charge." He starts saying, "I'm God, I'm in charge." LAX police and arrest that man, and he turns out to be a TSA agent.
The TSA and Amtrak believe that working together, they can make rail travel as safe as it can be.
Now, the TSA's Viper teams aren't just used to patrol transportation sites like this one. They also have been and will be used at high-profile events.
It's the sort of security we've seen a lot of since 9/11 at places like airports and seaports and major sporting events. Now, here at the bus station. Now, it's not like this sort of security is going to be on display at every bus terminal every time, but the message here is it could be.
When you think of terrorists these days, you probably think of airports and airplanes, but the TSA says you should be thinking about the roads instead. The state of Tennessee is teaming up with the TSA to combat terrorism on the interstate.
The groping at the airports. Now get ready because the TSA may be groping your tires.
Yes, the TSA may be coming to your cars, not just the full body scans at the airports. In Tennessee, they're the first state now to bring their form of inspection. They're calling this new program the VIPR, Visible Intermodal Prevention and Response. What could happen to you? You're driving down the highway, you pull over to a weigh station, and state troopers can then inspect your car.
Where is a terrorist most apt to be found? Not these days on an airplane, more likely on the interstate.
A systematic way of applying threat and risk management and risk mitigation across all modes of transportation, Examples like the Viper teams, the visible intermodal protection and reaction teams that you see, providing visible examples of how interagencies come together in things like other than aviation.
We're going to hype up the terrorists. They're going to get you any minute. We got to have no fly, no travel, no gun buy list. Oh, my gosh, give all your rights up.
Okay, well, that's the negative spin, but the positive spin is that Tennessee, their own Department of Homeland Security says, look, where is a terrorist attack most likely to happen? It's not in an airline anymore because there's been so much attention on airlines. It's probably in a truck bomb or a car bomb. We've heard lots of reports of possible terrorist attacks that would involve a car bomb. So they say they're now pulling over trucks at weigh stations with bomb-sniffing dogs. And, I mean, you could argue that this is the most brilliant thing that Tennessee has done in terms of security ever.
First, it was, Alex, you're a fearmonger that checkpoints are coming to search everybody. Then they come with TSA checkpoints as well. They're like, okay, well, you're a fearmonger not liking it. Oh, you're a fearmonger, Alex. Nobody's ever going to come for our guys. Nobody's going to try to physically make you turn them in.
You say guns will be taken. No one will be able to be armed. We will take all weapons.
That happened today in this wealthy neighborhood where homeowners had armed themselves to protect their mansions. Residents were handcuffed on the ground. In the end, police took their weapons but let them stay in their homes. For many of the police and guard troops, it is an uncomfortable job to do this in an American city. Chris Montgomery says he'd rather be in Iraq than patrolling American neighborhoods.
Walking up and down these streets, you don't want to think about the stuff that you're going to have to do. Somebody pops around the corner.
Let me shoot in America.
Yeah.
Let me shoot in America.
Yeah.
We interviewed Mark Potak from the Southern Poverty Law Center, and he spotlighted a right-wing group called the Oath Keepers that he feels may become dangerous.
But the reality about the group is that what it's really about
is the fear that martial law is about to be imposed, that Americans are about to be herded into concentration camps, that foreign troops are going to be put down on American soil.
Joining us now from Washington, Stuart Rhodes, the founder of the Oath Keepers, who served as a paratrooper in the Army. We will not obey unconstitutional and thus illegal and immoral orders, such as orders to disarm the American people or place them under martial law. Well, who's going to try to disarm people and place them under martial law? I mean, why would that even be something you would be discussing?
Well, it happened as recently as Katrina. You probably have seen the videos there of an old lady being tackled in her kitchen and disarmed of her revolver, and there was house-to-house searches for firearms, and you had the police chief declaring that no one would be allowed to have weapons, we're going to take all the guns, and they did. So they disarmed Americans over some bad weather, as though the bad weather suspended the Second Amendment.
The local authorities in New Orleans could not control what was going on in the city, and you had looters who were armed going in and stealing things, and this directive was...
It wasn't just looters they were disarming. They disarmed average American people, just average American
No, they had
citizens
disarmed everybody. They basically said, there's not going to be any guns in the city, and we're going to take them all because we're in a state of emergency. But that's after a hurricane wipes out the city, so I'm not sure. But let me ask you this.
Where's that in the Constitution that says that bad weather suspends the Constitution? I would say that disarming an average law-abiding citizen blanket like that.
No state of emergency. Now, I'm just saying, I'm just talking state of emergency.
So you call it state of emergency. Call it what you want. It's still unconstitutional.
That's a pretty extreme position.
Today in New Orleans, they got a lot tougher on the holdouts.
Police department, everyone home!
Not only the flooded areas, but New Orleans' driest and wealthiest neighborhoods, too.
Police department!
The police and National Guard going street by street, house to house. They say there are no orders to use force, just strong persuasion, sometimes entering open houses with guns drawn, and instructions to disarm anyone inside.
So the police and army are searching homes one by one. Everyone must leave.
Why not? Why?
A frail, sickly woman is inside, determined not to leave her two dogs, despite the pleas of the police.
We just want to make sure that you got enough stuff to keep yourself safe.
She won't let the police in, but asked to talk to me, the only female there at the time.
You got me scared to death, man.
She allows the police to follow, but again insists she's going nowhere.
I don't want to go because I got plenty.
There's a mandatory evacuation. Everybody in the city.
See, this is why I didn't want to let you guys come in.
No, man. How much food do you have?
Patty Connie is still trying to recover physically and emotionally.
They really did a number on me.
From the day police forced her from her home.
It was traumatic. All of a sudden, they were banging on the front door, the side door, and the back door, and they said, let us in.
Patty tried to explain. She was on dry land, she had plenty of food and water, and didn't want to abandon her dogs. But it didn't matter.
If you see 6 or 8 police that look like linebackers pushing you in a corner, you're in shock. I'm saying, look at all my food. I got plenty of food. They kept pushing me back, and ended up like this.
Then, Patty showed them a small revolver she was carefully holding in the palm of her hand. A camera crew was there to capture what unfolded next.
I said, it's not even loaded. And I dropped it on the floor.
You got a gun, lock.
Well, they punched me in the face. Look at my black and blue marks. Look at what they did to me. They dragged me out of here. I really thought they were going to kill me.
Look, bottom line, we have a Second Amendment. We defeated the British Empire to get it. We're not turning it loose. And since Obama's been in office, gun sales have basically doubled, and it's going to continue, and the New World Order is going to fail, and this UN treaty to restrict our guns is going to fail.
The ATF.
Pardon me?
The UN, the United Nations?
Absolutely.
Is it behind these regulations?
Absolutely. 50-plus senators just signed a public letter that the United Nations regulations are what the ATF is trying to implement, and Hillary Clinton is trying to get us through treaty to waive our Second Amendment.
President Obama went to Mexico and brought back a 12-year-old treaty.
I'm urging the Senate in the United States to ratify an inter-American treaty known as SIFTA to curb small arms trafficking that is a source of so many of the weapons used in this drug war.
The treaty signed by President Clinton in 1997 was never ratified by the Senate. It calls for the institution of a regime of gun control never before seen in the United States, creating a gun registration system that would be open to international sharing. Offenders would be prosecuted under treaty law, and they would be eligible for extradition.
Now the NRA is engaging in a campaign, which is, I'm not unaccustomed to, of disinformation, to try to scare people. Let me read some of the things they're saying about background checks. They say, quote, we, the federal government, want to put every private firearms transaction right under the thumb of the federal government and keep all those names in a massive federal registry. Kind of scary, man. Black helicopter crowd really is upset. There is no record kept in some big database. No way that Uncle Sam can go find out whether you own a gun, because we're about to really take away all your rights and you're not going to be able to defend yourself, and we're going to swoop down with Special Forces folks and gather up every gun in America. It's bizarre. But that's what's being sold out there.
A top-secret military drill has been getting a lot of attention around town tonight. This is what people in Denver saw in the skies. Many of you called into CBS 4 reporting low-flying military helicopters. They were spotted all over the city, from Civic Center Park out to City Park, also above some of the hospitals. Copters so close to the ground, there you can see it's easy to spot the people on board. Well, Denver police say they were very aware of this drill but couldn't give us specifics. We do know it was organized by the U.S. Department of Justice.
Again, this is what they think of you. Joe Biden, nobody wants your guns. That's a lie. We'll never try to take any of your guns. That's a preposterous lie. That clip's coming up. We're going to play that. Meanwhile, we're going to play a clip of him in the debate saying he wrote the assault weapons ban. And you're like, well, yeah, he says one thing one day, another, because they have disdain for you.
I'm the guy that originally wrote the assault weapons ban that became law, and then we got defeated. Then then Dianne Feinstein went to town on it and did a great job.
I guarantee you, Barack Obama ain't taking my shotguns, so don't buy that malarkey. Don't buy that malarkey. They're gonna start peddling that to you. I got two. If he tries to fool with my Beretta, he's got a problem.
We're not going to try to ban your semi-autos. We'll never do that. That's a conspiracy theory. Now, you heard him. He wrote the original one that he said Dianne Feinstein did a great job with. That was the one where they'd physically make you turn them in. He did write one that was more draconian, but not the one that got passed. But he brags, I wrote it, I got it passed. More lies. Then he comes out and says to a different crowd, I don't want your guns, when his ban would have banned handguns, like the 9mm Beretta.
There's some things we can immediately do, and we're going to need your help. We see no reason why the assault weapons ban. Quite frankly, you guys helped me write in the original crime bill. It passed the Senate, then didn't get past the House, and then we were back at it again with Dianne Feinstein's leadership. She convinced people to put it back in the bill.
Dianne Feinstein.
What do you say to people who support the right to own arms, that this is the camel's nose under the tent, and the next thing you'll be after concealed carry weapons, you'll be after other kinds of gun rights?
Well, that's just not true. It wasn't true with the prior bill that was the law for 10 years. And I just think, candidly, that dog doesn't hunt.
Why shouldn't it be true? Why wouldn't you want to go after those other laws?
Because that's not what I've done in the past, and it's not what I'm doing right now.
California Senator Dianne Feinstein worked for more than a year to get the assault weapons bill passed in the face of ferocious opposition from the National Rifle Association. She says she got the best she could.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in. I would have done it. I could not do that. The votes weren't here.
Mr. and Mrs. America, get ready to turn them in. And why does she want that? Why does every other authoritarian government want to take the guns? You see, it's not just, are they coming for our guns? It's why are they coming for our guns? The guns going is the canary in the coal mine. And as I've said, they're all on record saying their goal, and the UN goal, is the total abolition of civilian firearms ownership, as UNIDIR has stated July 7th, 2001. The abolition of civilian ownership of firearms to ensure the legitimate power monopoly of the state. Well, the state having power monopoly is Nazi Germany, is Soviet Russia, is Maoist China. It's authoritarianism, signed, sealed, delivered, certified, bona fide, confirmed, gift wrapped. Now let's go to her also in 1995, talking about how a terrorist group was trying to kill her and how she had her own gun to protect herself. So she has 5 bodyguards of concealed carry, but you can't because she gets to have flying monkeys, you don't. Here we go.
I know the sense of helplessness that people feel. I know the urge to arm yourself because that's what I did. I was trained in firearms. I'd walk to the hospital when my husband was sick. I carried a concealed weapon. I made the determination that if somebody was going to try to take me out, I was going to take them with me.
And she goes on and on. It's a full 2-minute clip up at Infowars.com.
Senator Dianne Feinstein of California was the author and champion of the assault weapons ban in 1994. Senator Feinstein wants to reinstate the assault weapons ban. And what about President Obama, who NRA supporters like to call the great gun grabber? His website says he wants to make the expired federal assault weapons ban permanent. But the White House doesn't seem to be interested in bringing it up anytime soon.
There's some sense that the president has so many crisis issues on his plate right now that the idea of bringing up guns, which is considered part of the culture wars, would be such a diversion.
I agree with you. I wouldn't bring it up now.
So you're going to hold off?
That's correct.
And
I'll pick the time and the place, no question about that.